All right. She working? Okay. We're rapidly approaching our Passover season. Let's turn to Romans chapter 7, starting in verse 1. Know you not, brethren, for I speak to them that know the law, how that the law has dominion over a man as long as he lives. For the woman which has a husband is bound by the law to her husband so long as he lives. But if the husband be dead, she is loosed from the law of her husband. So then, if while her husband lives she be married to another man, she shall be called an adulteress. But if her husband be dead, she is free from that law, so that she is no adulteress, though she be married to another man. Wherefore, my brethren, you also are become dead to the law by the body of Messiah, that you should be married to another, even to him who is raised from the dead, that we should bring forth fruit unto Yahweh. For when we were in the flesh, the motions of sin, which were by the law, did work in our members to bring forth fruit unto death. But now we are delivered from the law, that being dead wherein we were held, that we should serve in newness of spirit, and not in the oldness of the letter. What shall we say then? Is the law sin? Yahweh forbid. No, I had not known sin but by the law, for I had not known lust except the law had said, Thou shalt not covet. But sin, taken occasion by the commandment, wrought in me all manner of concupiscence, since, for without the law, sin was dead. For I was alive without the law once, but when the commandment came, sin revived, and I died. And the commandment which was ordained to life, I found to be unto death. For sin, taken occasion by the commandment, deceived me, and by it slew me. Wherefore the law is holy, and the commandment holy, and just, and good. Was then that which is good made death unto me? Yahweh forbid. But sin, that it might appear sin, working death in me by that which is good, that sin by the commandment might become exceedingly sinful. For we know that the law is spiritual, but I am carnal, sold under sin. For that which I do, I allow not. For that which I would, that do I not. But what I hate, that I do. If then I do that which I would not, I consent unto that law that it is good. Now then, it is no more I that do it, but sin that dwells in me. For I know that in me, that is, in my flesh, dwells no good thing. For to will is present with me, but how to perform that which is good, I find not. For the good that I would, I do not, but the evil which I would not, that I do. Now, if I do that I would not, it is no more I that do it, but sin that dwells in me. I find then a law that, when I would do good, evil is present with me. For I delight in the law of Yahweh after the inward man. But I see another law in my members, warring against the law of my mind, and bringing me into captivity to the law of sin, which is in my members. O wretched man that I am, who shall deliver me from the body of this death? I thank Yahweh through Yeshua Messiah our Lord. So then, with the mind, I myself serve the law of Yahweh, but with the flesh, the law of sin. There is therefore now no condemnation to them which are in Messiah Yeshua, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit. For the law of the Spirit of life in Messiah Yeshua has made me free from the law of sin and death. For what the law could not do, in that it was weak through the flesh, Yahweh sending his own Son in the likeness of sinful flesh, and for sin, condemned sin in the flesh, that the righteousness of the law might be fulfilled in us, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit. For they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh, but they that are after the Spirit, the things of the Spirit. For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. Because the carnal mind is enmity against Yahweh, for it is not subject to the law of Yahweh, neither indeed can be. So then, they that are in the flesh cannot please Yahweh. But you are not in the flesh, but in the Spirit, if so be that the Spirit of Yahweh dwell in you. Now if any man have not the Spirit of Messiah, he is none of his. And if the Messiah be in you, the body is dead because of sin, but the Spirit is life because of righteousness. But if the Spirit of him that raised up Yeshua from the dead is dwelling in you, he that raised up Messiah from the dead shall also quicken your mortal bodies by his Spirit that dwells in you. Therefore, brethren, we are debtors not to the flesh, to live after the flesh. For if we live after the flesh, you shall die. But if you, through the Spirit, do mortify the deeds of the body, you shall live. For as many as are led by the Spirit of Yahweh, they are the sons of Yahweh. For you have not received the spirit of bondage again to fear, but you have received the Spirit of adoption, whereby we call, Abba, Father. The Spirit itself bears witness with our spirit that we are the children of Yahweh. Now let's ponder these scriptures in John chapter 18, verse 1. When Yeshua had spoken these words, he went forth with his disciples over the brook Cedron, where was a garden, into which he entered, and his disciples, and Judas also betrayed him, knew the place. For Yeshua oftentimes resorted there with his disciples. Judas then, having received a band of men and officers of the chief priests and Pharisees, not the Romans, he came there with lanterns and torches and weapons. Yeshua, therefore, knowing all things that should come upon him, went forth and said unto them, Whom seek you? They answered him, Yeshua of Nazareth. Yeshua said unto them, I am he. And Judas also which betrayed him, stood with them. And as soon as he had said unto them, I am he, they went backwards and fell to the ground. Then asked he of them, Whom seek you? And they said, Yeshua of Nazareth. And Yeshua answered, I have told you that I am he. If therefore you seek me, let these go their way, that the saying might be fulfilled which he spoke, of them which thou gavest me have I lost none. Then Simon Peter, having a sword, drew it, and smote the high priest's servant, and cut off his right ear. The servant's name was Malchus. Then said Yeshua unto Peter, Put up thy sword into the sheath. The cup which my Father has given me, shall I not drink it? Then the band and the captain and officers of the Jews took Yeshua and bound him, and led him away to Annas first, and then for he was the father-in-law of Caiaphas, which was the high priest that same year. Now Caiaphas was he which gave counsel to the Jews that was expedient that one man should die for the people. Simon Peter followed Yeshua, and so did another disciple. That disciple was known unto the high priest, and went in with Yeshua into the palace of the high priest. But Peter stood at the door without. Then went out that other disciple, which was known unto the high priest, and spoke unto her that kept the door, and brought in Peter. Then says the damsel that kept the door unto Peter, Art not thou also one of this man's disciples? And he says, I am not. And the servant and officer stood there, who had made a fire of coals, for it was cold. And they warmed themselves. And Peter stood with them, and warmed himself. The high priest then asked Yeshua of his disciples and of his doctrine. Yeshua answered him, I spoke openly to the world. I ever taught in the synagogue and in the temple, whether the Jews always resort, and in secret have I said nothing. Why askest thou me? Ask them which heard me. What I have said unto them, behold, they know what I said. And when he had thus spoken, one of the officers which stood by struck Yeshua with the palm of his hand, saying, Answered thou the high priest so? Yeshua answered him, If I have spoken evil, bear witness of the evil. But if well, why smitest thou me? Now Annas had sent him bound unto Caiaphas the high priest. And Simon Peter stood and warmed himself. They said therefore unto him, Art not thou one of his disciples? And he denied it, and said, I am not. One of the servants of the high priest, being his kinsman, whose ear Peter cut off, says, Did I not see thee in the garden with him? Peter then denied again, and immediately the cock crew. Then led they Yeshua from Caiaphas unto the hall of judgment. And it was early, and they themselves went not into the judgment hall, lest they should be defiled, but that they might eat the Passover. Pilate then went out unto them, and said, What accusations bring you against this man? They answered and said unto him, If he were not a malefactor, an evildoer, we would not have delivered him up unto thee. Then said Pilate unto them, Take you him, and judge him according to your law. The Jews therefore said unto him, It is not lawful for us to put any man to death, that the saying Yeshua might be fulfilled, which he spoke, signifying what death he should die. Then Pilate entered into the judgment hall again, and called Yeshua, and said unto him, Art thou the King of the Jews? And Yeshua answered him, Sayest thou this thing of thyself, or did others tell thee of me? Pilate answered, Am I a Jew? Thine own nation and thy chief priests have delivered thee unto me. What hast thou done? Yeshua answered, My kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, then would my servants fight, that I should not be delivered to the Jews. But now is my kingdom not from hence. Pilate therefore said unto him, Art thou a king then? Yeshua answered, Thou sayest that I am a king. To this end was I born, and for this cause came I unto the world, that I should bear witness unto the truth. Every one that is of the truth hears my voice. Pilate said unto him, What is truth? And when he had said this, he went out again unto the Jews, and said unto them, I find in him no fault at all. But you have a custom that I should release unto you one of at the Passover. Will you therefore that I release unto you the King of the Jews? Then cried they all again, saying, Not this man, but Barabbas. Now Barabbas was a robber. Then Pilate therefore took Yeshua and scourged him. And the soldiers patted a crown of thorns and put it on his head. And they put on him a purple robe and said, Hail, King of the Jews! And they smote him with their hands. Pilate therefore went forth again and said unto them, Behold, I bring him forth to you, that you may know that I find no fault in him. Then came Yeshua forth wearing the crown of thorns and the purple robe. And Pilate said unto them, Behold the man. When the chief priests therefore and officers saw him, they cried out, saying, Crucify him, crucify him. Pilate said unto them, Take you him and crucify him, for I find no fault in him. The Jews answered him, We have a law, and by our law he ought to die, because he made himself the son of Elohim. When Pilate therefore heard that saying, he was the more afraid, and went again into the judgment hall, and said unto Yeshua, Whence art thou? But Yeshua gave him no answer. Then said Pilate unto him, Speakest thou not unto me? Knowest thou not that I have the power to crucify thee, and the power to release thee? Yeshua answered, Thou couldst have no power at all against me, except it were given thee from above. Therefore he that delivered me unto thee has the greater sin. And from thenceforth Pilate sought to release him. But the Jews cried out, saying, If thou let this man go, thou art not Caesar's friend. Whosoever makes himself a king speaks against Caesar. When Pilate therefore heard that saying, he brought Yeshua forth and sat down at the judgment seat in the place that is called the Pavement, but in Hebrew, Gabbatha. And it was the preparation of the Passover, about the 6th hour. And he said unto the Jews, Behold your king. But they cried out again, Away with him, crucify him. Pilate said unto them, Shall I crucify your king? The chief priests answered, We have no king but Caesar. Then delivered he him therefore unto them to be crucified. And they took Yeshua and led him away. And he, bearing his stake, went forth into a place called the place of the skull, which is called in Hebrew Golgotha, where they crucified him, and 2 others with him, on either side one, and Yeshua in the midst. Now crucify is number 4717, staru, meaning to stake, drive down stakes, to fortify with driven stakes, to palisade, to crucify one, metaphor, to crucify the flesh, destroy its power utterly, the nature of the figure implying that the destruction is attended with intense pain. Years ago, when I was baptized in 88, I sat down and I wrote this. I share it all the time during this time period with the Passover. So back when I was new to the faith, I wrote this, and I always read it at this time of year. What I think of when I eat unleavened bread is the crunching of the thorns into the crown and forced onto Yeshua's head. What I think of when I eat unleavened bread is the slap at Yeshua's face while blindfolded. Tell us, prophet, who hit you? What I think of when I eat unleavened bread is the cracking of the whip against Yeshua's body, cutting his flesh open so you can count his bones. When I eat unleavened bread, I hear the sounds of the hammer pounding in the nails. When I eat unleavened bread, I see the soldiers with the spear was thrusted into his side. You know, it's a good thing. The curtain of time separates me from that event because of how horrible that Passover was. Because every time I take a bite of unleavened bread, I see me, because of my sins, slapping Yeshua's face and screaming, Who hit you now, prophet? I see me every time I eat unleavened bread, making the crown of thorns. Every time I eat unleavened bread, I see me cracking the whip. Every time I eat unleavened bread, it was me who hammered the nails. Every time I eat unleavened bread, it was me who slammed the spear into Yeshua, all because of my sins. Yes, a curtain of time may be between me and that horrible Passover, but because of my sins, I was there just the same. So eating unleavened bread for 7 days is to remind you of what happened years ago. When I eat unleavened bread, what do I think of? I thank Yahweh for making it possible for my sins to be forgiven. When I eat unleavened bread, I thank Yahweh for Yeshua. So next time you eat unleavened bread, what will you be thinking of? Yahweh bless.